It's a little uncomfortable. All right. It's all good. I deserve it. After all the years of wiring people improperly, I deserve it. All right. Am I on the air? Got me? Good. Cool. All right. Pretend like you never met me. All right. So, my name is Dave Lamb. I went to Emmaus High School. I went to Penn State for film and video. And yes, you can go to Penn State for film and video. Right now, Mr. Belisario, who made TV shows like Knight Rider and big 80s TV shows, gave millions of dollars to Penn State. Lots of great film schools out there. There's one of them. I've been doing this a bunch of years, doing this for almost 20 years professionally. And as Dave Thomas was saying this morning, you know, taking us out of our comfort zones a little bit. So by trade, I'm a DP, director of photography. I do the camera stuff, animator and editor, pretty much in that order. Video effects kind of come with the territory. So we're going to talk about video effects today. And as Dave said, or as the Cheshire Cat said to Alice, you know, we are all a little bit mad here. We're all a bunch of weirdos. We're all in good company. So, self-deprecation in full play. I've been doing video effects for a long time. Yes, that hair is real. That was not a CG effect. I did not call up George Lucas and say, hey, can you give me a head of hair? And he's like, oh yeah, I can give you a head of hair, no problem. But why we do video effects? Because they're fun. They're big, bombastic. And 20 years ago, I thought this would be a great, fun, cool idea. And it was. It was a lot of fun. Not a lot of story involved. What's this about? It's about two knuckleheads beating each other with stupid lightsabers, right? But we do it because it's fun. The point of today is that video effects can carry your story, but they can be a big distraction. We all have that big pile of like free downloads of all those great, funky video effects, forgetting that those video effects a lot of time have that slider. When you put a video effect on, that slider goes from 0 to 100%. Like you can dial it back to 80%. Your video effect doesn't have to be driving your story. It's not about that. We use things to motivate, things to emulate. We use video effects to emulate a style, emulate a look, right? And sometimes that look just overglosses over what the actual story is. Your story is important. The content is what's important, okay? So today we're not going to talk about the how, we're talking about the why. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. It doesn't also just mean you shouldn't. You can use these things to help your story, tweak it, right? All right. Subtlety. All right, we'll do a scene breakdown. Real quick. Movie, shout it out. Casablanca, nice. Peter Lorre, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Claude Rains. If you're taking notes right now, write down, I must watch Casablanca. It is an American classic. It's great. It's a fantastic movie. But it's an old movie, 1942. What tells us this is old? It's in black and white, right? What else? Good. Style of the clothing. The art direction, right? That's important. Art direction.
Context clues like smoke, the fact that they're smoking.
3 for 3. Smoking. They're smoking. Who smokes anymore? Like, I remember when people would smoke in public places. Like, people smoke in malls. Weird, right? Flicking ashes everywhere. I mean, you want to do a period piece. I watch a lot of, Netflix stuff like Mindhunter. You guys watch Mindhunter? It's a good one. The whole thing is tobacco stained. They're smoking like chimneys. Stranger Things. Hoppers is going to be top of the list for a lung replacement come the 90s. Look out for season 4. All right, so smoking, cultural things. What are they wearing? Do we wear stuff like this anymore? We should. Look at Bogart's. It's like that sash collar. There's a note for prom. That sash collar's really looking styling. It's good. And you look like Rick. It's pretty cool. Anything else?
I think they're playing chess.
Well, he's playing chess by himself, but yeah. But yeah. He doesn't like Bogarty very much. What else?
Their hair slicked back.
Hair, again. Style. Art direction.
The design in the background, like of the room itself.
Oh, yeah. This takes place in Casablanca, right? So you got these like beautiful like Moroccan lamps and like, look at this. Look, what is that? That's beautiful, right? But again, hard light. right? These are things back in the 40s because film stocks weren't as sensitive. You got hard light. There wasn't a whole lot of soft light back then. It's very strange in studio lighting. All right, so with this beautiful discussion, we established a look, right? So to emulate this look, what would you do? Black and white, maybe some art direction, get some pomade in the hair, all right, I'm not saying take up smoking or put smoking in your videos, but that's subjective art direction, right? The point is, Casablanca does not look like this, okay? It doesn't. Heavy vignettes and like the sepia tone, like every time you see something old or old-timey, you see a sepia tone, all right? That's a rare effect that happened in other certain film stocks, whatever, the scratchy film effects. This Casablanca Blu-ray is a gorgeous representation. Like there's not a scratch on it. It's a great, great piece of film on Blu-ray. It was not full screen. Actually, we missed one where, what's this? It's 4:3. It's not even 16:9. That's just 35 millimeter film, right? That's my point, is that you can emulate these looks, emulate and motivate, and you don't need to hammer on all the effects. Pop quiz. You're in school today. You didn't see that coming. I'm going to show you a clip from Amélie from 2001. Jean-Pierre Jeunet, look him up. He's fantastic. He crosses all kinds of genres. He's made sci-fi movies. He's made horror movies. He made this movie, Amélie. If you're taking notes, write down, I will watch Amélie. It is a beautiful film. It is a jolly candy-like film. So wonderful. It's also a great example of using video effects to motivate your art direction. All right? So, pop quiz. Find the digital effect in this moment. Where's it at? The lamp was never there. Using art direction to do this, right? What's the color palette of this movie? Red. Also, well, less green, but like there's those little pops of green. Red and green are in this movie. The whole movie is washed with this beautiful green or red patina. And Jean-Pierre and his DP Bruno would do little pops of blue wherever they could, and sometimes they didn't post. So a digital effect, subtle, but motivated by art direction, right? Where's the video effect? It's a little easier. Now car's real. The car is actually blocking a very ugly building that was down the block. Who else? Go ahead. The sign, right. Sign's fake. That's kind of, sign's fake, but it's a 2-second shot. Our superhero walks up, needs a haircut, and goes, oh, how fortuitous, and walks into a salon. But it was a different salon with a different name we weren't able to use, so to motivate my story and also to not have to pay this person to have to use the name of their business, I just replaced the sign. Where else? Do you see anything else in there? Oh, that's actually my lens. Good eye. We'll talk about that actually later on. That's a vignette. That's actually a natural vignette that happens naturally. Go ahead. The pink stuff on the building. But you saw that second. So the other lesson is that when you use some kind of video effect, make sure it matches your environment. Make sure you use the natural kind of light, like this whole shadow under the alcove and stuff like that. Subtlety. Sometimes will sell your effect 10 times better than anything else. Okay, one of these dancers was digitally replaced. Just shout it out if you see it.
The one in sort of like the tan dress.
Tan dress? Anybody else? More guesses?
Person
In the middle, okay. Last call. Anything else? Good. Back right, okay. It's the middle. Lady in the middle. And why did I do that? Just to be cool? Like, hey, I can do video effects. I'll replace that scene, no problem. No, I need to motivate my edit. These dancers, that was the best take they had. But my friend Andrea was doing something different in the background. It's fine. She's a dancer. She was freelancing. It was cool. But there's a reason I did that. I did it for my edit. I did it to continue my story. This lady is having a crisis. She's having a flashback to a previous life. Clenching of a fist. Clenching of a fist. Clenching her fists. She wasn't doing it in that take. And that was just a perfect moment I needed to get that edit across. So, luckily, my camera was locked down. I was able to actually just kind of cut her out and replace her. Replacing a performance for the sake of your edit. Motivation. Motivation for doing this stuff. Not just because you can. Although it's cool and it's fun. That's why we do it. Any questions? Nothing? I'm not that good. All right. Let's see here. All right, yeah. Replacing to motivate someone. All right, here we go. Next pop quiz. This is from 2009 Star Trek. Our good buddy J.J. Abrams, starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and King of the Nerds, Simon Pegg. All right. Find the digital effect. Just shout it out when you see it.
All those flares on the screen.
Okay, the flares. Anything else? What's that? Oh, the screens were IRL. Those were actual like screens that were on the set. Anything else?
The guy in the back.
Guy in the back. Everyone says this guy. What's with this guy? He looks pretty real to me. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was there.
He like moves out.
So there's a lot going on here. So we got like, oh, go ahead. What? Oh, you had someone? Had one?
Little lights in the back, how they're not like flaring.
They're all flaring, all twinkling. What else?
Marks on his face.
Oh, that's just makeup. Somebody said in previous class, Spock's ears. I'm like, no, that's makeup. Like, that's not digital. That's fine. So there's a lot going on here. Like, this is a high tense moment, right? Our composition's all cramped. Look, in his face, we're getting angry. Spock never gets angry. If you know Star Trek, Spock never gets angry. This is a very important moment in his life, right? So it's like we got light and motion and sound and acting and shouting. It's great. Trick question. The lens flares are real. That was all done in camera. You got J.J. Abrams, you got his director of photography, these 500-watt deer spotter lights, and they're flashing the lenses during the takes. My point is that it wasn't digital. It was done in camera. We're emulating a look of what happens when when light hits a lens, it does certain things. So, motivation of a scene, right? High energy, high emotions, helping the scene with like the more I was researching the scene, because I got this from the behind the scenes thing, but I was researching the scene. So you're saying how like the lights were all like twinkling at the set was designed so that all these lights were pointing at the lens to cause all those interactions of light, which is like, again, putting the camera person hat on now. It's like you want to avoid that. Like light in the lens, like you want to get rid of that. But if you want to motivate it, try it sometime. Get your camera with a lens, get a big flashlight, shine it from the side, from the front, and see what happens. So if you want to emulate these looks in a motivated fashion, you know what it looks like. And the best way to do that. Because sometimes you slap on that effect, it just looks fake. Because it doesn't look like how it happens in real life. We all live in real life. Most of us. So we're observers of like light and action and things like that. Okay. Motivation. Here's a piece we did a while ago. This is our friend Kareem. What can you tell us? What's going on with Kareem right now? What's he feeling? He's sad. He's angry. Not a good day for Kareem, right? How do we know that? What visual clues are telling us that this is a bad day for Kareem? Sorry? Slow motion? Right. Okay. That's a great.
He's walking away from the camera, and the camera was also out of focus on him.
Right. So you got technical cam direct. You got actor direction, and you got camera stuff going on. What else?
The color scheme.
Color scheme. Blue is sad, right? Right. This isn't a bright sunny day. Anything else?
His acting, his facial expression, the pursing of his lips. He doesn't show a lot through his eyes, but he uses his mouth.
He's a great actor, right? We're actually telling his real life story, but he knocked it out of the park every time. He was great. He was into this. It was great. All right, so everything we've learned, right? Here's the original shot. Where's my light flare? Where's the bloom? Where's all the pretty stuff? It's all fake. Those were digital effects. But using them to help tell his story, to motivate the emotions going on. So what's the first thing you notice about between the previous shot and this one? Is this a sad day? This is a beautiful, sunny, late summer day on the streets of Philadelphia. This is a beautiful day to shoot. It's a fantastic day to shoot. Look, there's green leaves on the trees. It was a gorgeous day. It was like 75 and sunny, low humidity. It was fantastic, but not very sad. So what's the first step? Make it. Oh, look at his shirt. Is that a sad shirt? we didn't advise him on wardrobe that day. This isn't like a very sad shirt. That is one of the happiest shirts I've ever seen. Although someone in previous class said, that's a pretty sad shirt. I don't know. I was like, oh, that's subjective. That's fine. Art is subjective. First step, let's cool it off. Get rid of all that nice warm color. Yeah, well, yeah. But we washed it out, we desaturated all this stuff, and we do the best we can. All right, so there we go. Now it's a much more sadder scene, right? But it wasn't good enough because, again, I'm a camera guy, and it drove me nuts that, play you. PowerPoint and I are not friends. Okay. As a DP, this drove me crazy. I don't mind having blown out things in the background, right? But I was like, I need something to motivate that. I couldn't get that in, the camera I had didn't have a wide dynamic range, blah, 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 technical explanations later. But that was all blown out. And I was like, how can I use that? How can I use that to motivate our action? So I did blue. So the first thing I did, I went to our old friend, the lens flare. This is the cheap, lens flare filter you got in Premiere and After Effects. This is pretty default stuff. Why is it flashing? This is actually video I put on top of the other thing. Why is it flashing? What motivates that flashing? When he moves, his head is in the shot, right? Is in that big, bright shot, right? Okay? So let's take this. Let's put it on top of the previous shot. See it? Little lens flare, just a little pop, just a little something. Why do that? It was fun. It looked cool. But again, I put that slider down to like 25, not 100%. Subtlety. But it wasn't good enough. I just wanted a little bit more panache. We're not telling his story just strongly enough. So the next step, I got one of those, I just built a nice big fake lens flare. Big soft flare. That's just a circle with a big blur on it. This is all done in Premiere. It's not After Effects or anything like that. It's all just done in Premiere. And I animated it so it actually, what's motivating that again? What's motivating that? Is movement, right? Let's put that on top. So I'm emulating a light source from a distance shining into my lens. And I've known that because that's happened to me 1,000 times. The sun shines into my lens, I see that big flare, very distinctive, like that big soft wash. Sometimes I want to do that. Sometimes I'll do that like the hero shot, like I succeeded in my story or I succeeded in my goals, low angle shot, sun behind the person, and the sun's right outside the lens, and like it hits the lens just right. You get that big shiny wash over the person. In camera, fantastic, got it, great. But we shot this clean, which is another point to do too. If you want to do any kind of video effects, it's best to shoot it clean. Because someone had said, why wouldn't you just like white balance the camera to make it record blue? It's like, well, if you do that, you're stuck with the blue. There's the very old adage, there's the movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and there's the movie you edit. They're 3 different projects. Because you're writing something and, oh man, that dialogue is great, I'm a genius, this is fantastic. Then you're on the set, and you're shooting and like, wow, that dialogue is terrible, what was I thinking? Let's just shoot it this way to cover the fact that the dialogue is weird. Now we're editing it, and you do it a different way. So always shoot as clean as possible. You can add all the stuff you want later, you can affect it later on. And then the final shot had this little vignette. Who said vignette before? Yeah, there we go. So I was emulating what cameras do sometimes, is emulating this whole thing of like, you know, that beautiful organic old like glass that, you know, movies and TVs were shot on. Like they weren't always perfect, and they had this vignette. Vignettes, what else will we do with vignette? Vignettes don't have to live on the edge of the screen. Vignettes can be elsewhere. Why would we do that? Just shout it out. Not so much, but I guess you could. Why would you vignette? Why'd you vignette?
Makes it feel organic, like from a person's perspective.
Right, yeah, it helps with the look. Anybody else? It draws our attention to the center. There's less information out here, so it draws our attention right to Kareem. We want our attention on him and on this moment in his life. Okay, here we go. The elephant in the room, green screen. How many of you guys have green screens? How many are going to use them? It's okay, it's okay. We're all friends here. So green screen. When my clients or my producer says, hey, we want to shoot green screen, what's my first question out of my mouth? Why? Why do you want to do this? What is motivating you to shoot on a green screen? Why is this? Well, because we can't get a location, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, well, can't we just shoot in a location? How about that? That's what a novel idea of that is. Like, to actually shoot someone in a room, like, you know, with an actual background. Like, no, well, we can't. Okay, fine. We're in green screen land. What's the second question I ask? How? Well, yeah, how? Like, when are we going to do it? Budgeting, scheduling, stuff like that. What's my second question? What's in the background? Please. A plea for sanity. What is in the background? What do you want to put behind this person? Why do I ask that question?
So you can talk them out of it.
I tried very hard, but it's too late. In this scenario, we are already in the whole production phase. In fact, we shot these interviews 2 months ago, and they still haven't decided what to put in the background. But why is it sticking in my head? Why am I asking what to put in the background? Frame the shot, that's one. I can slide them back and forth a little bit, and you can do a little bit, but who had their hand up?
So you can decide what person to be wearing.
Yeah, that's part of it. But we already shot them.
They don't want anything in the background to be distracting from what they're actually saying.
That's true too. Yeah, you pick your background. Yes, the young man in the back.
It'll do change how you light it.
How am I going to light it? That is the one thing that will break any green screen, is lighting it to match the background, right? So there's 2 different types of green screen stuff, broadly speaking. This lady here, she's looking great. She's lit, very nice, 3-point light, and the background is just like some moving images and stuff like that. And this is no big deal. This is more like the weather person effect. Like, hey, you know, cloudy today, sunny tomorrow, that's great. You know, there's like, as long as I'm lit, you see me okay. Doesn't matter what's back there. Graphics, animation, it's fine, it's all good. Here's the other problem. Here's our buddy Ed. This was a thing where we did his interview and nobody could tell me what to do in the background, and this is what they picked afterwards. What is wrong with this? What?
The lighting on him doesn't match the background.
Ding! Right off the bat. It doesn't match. Does this sell? You can tell it's a green screen shot, right? How would we fix it? Oh, what else is wrong? What else is going on here?
I think like the positioning, like where he's sitting, he looks pretty short compared to the rest.
Yeah, the composition's all awkward. It's terrible. Who else had?
So like, the angle of the camera is different. It's shooting him from straight on, but then of the actual room, it's kind of tilted downwards a little bit, so it makes it almost look like he's leaning back.
The angle's different. Yeah, the camera was probably down here. He's sitting in a chair. This photograph was probably taken by a person standing up here. Click. Look at that. That's two different angles right there. So when you're digging through like, your Adobe stock, you're like, well, that angle doesn't match. Room looks great. Angle doesn't match. I had one person try to give me a big, I swear the person was taking the photograph on a ladder looking down at an auditorium. I'm like, is this person floating in the air? Like, it makes no sense. Like, think. Clients don't think. Producers don't think either. It's okay. So how do we fix this? It's too late. He's on a business trip in like the West Coast. Like we shot his interview so long ago. What's the best way to fix it? Go ahead.
Make the add effects so that the lighting on him looks a little darker.
You could try that. It's harder than you think. I tried doing that years ago. It never looks right. It's hard. But what's easier than that? What's the first thing we can change in this whole thing? Blur the background. Well, first of all, let's fix the lighting thing. How would I fix the light? Flip the image. A little better. Now our light is motivated to come from this side, hit this face, and maybe there's a window over here or something to do our fill. Okay, a little better. So what's the next step? I mean, what daylight, tungsten light? What's our next step?
Change the positioning, like the angle that he's at.
No, I'm really kind of stuck with that. Unfortunately, I really can't change it. Go ahead.
Lightening him a bit.
Well, he's done. I like he's nice and warm. I wouldn't want to match him to the background. I'd want to, go ahead, warm with the background. So it's a little bit of warm. On the screen you really can't tell, but warm with the background, a little better. What's my final step?
Scale it.
You can scale it, but we'll scale it in a second for one specific reason. But everything's in focus, right? When you shoot stuff like this, you want depth of field. You want your subject in focus and your background out of focus. So Gaussian blur is your best friend. Just blur the background, right? A little better. Does it sell? Granted, Ed's a very animated guy. I'm talking about taxes. I'm talking about this stuff. I'm talking about so like he's singing and dancing, so like his performance will help detract from the fact that this is not the greatest green screen that could ever been pulled in the history of green screen. The next thing that bugs me sometimes is that you shoot in 4K a lot of times, sometimes, able to. All right, there's this thing called 4K, right? It's big. Producers love it because you can shoot 4K in this big, wide format, and you edit in 1080, and you have all this information so you can punch in, not lose resolution. It's great because you can do stuff like this. Looks like you have two cameras. Producers love it because they don't have to buy two cameras or rent two cameras. You can fake two cameras. But what happens in my background when I quote-unquote zoom in? Go ahead. Blurs out more, because that's what a lens does. I'm emulating what a lens would do, trying to use practical application of real life to this fake world, right? So what a lens, when you zoom in on a lens, it's going to blow up the background a little bit more than the foreground and crush it and get a little more out of focus. So another way to help sell when you do an alternate angle on something like that. The whole thing with the lighting thing. If you guys want to do a green screen, go ahead and do it. It's cool. But there are ways to make it look a little better, help match. Like, here's an example. Say you know what your background's going to be. You want to put your character in the Sahara Desert. Sahara Desert is very sunny. Take the green screen outside on a very sunny day and just use the sunlight to light your subject. And make sure the light is, make sure the sun's in the right position. You don't want your shadows on this side and like your sun on this side and it just looks weird. Help match it that way. Make sense? You can take that green screen out of the studio, most times. Because really, if you're doing just like an interview or just a shot or a scene of like whatever, just a person's head and body, that's all you got a green screen, is this much. You just need this much. You don't got to fill the entire screen with green. Don't need to. Laziness, it's a great motivator. All right, any questions? Technical questions? Stuff about your projects? You got problems to solve? Wow, I'm that good. Oh, go ahead.
For when you like put in for the dancing thing,
Mm-hmm.
you put in the girl, like how did you make it so like the light didn't get cut off? Because there was light coming in from the window behind her, like in the girl from the dress where you
Oh.
it again. Sorry, it was like a while ago, but
Through the magic of PowerPoint. Dun, dun, dun. There she is. Okay. So there's a few indicators. Watch her shadow. Doesn't really change. So the nice thing about this is that this was locked off camera. So I could chop off like as much window as I wanted. Does that answer your question?
yeah.
The fact that it's actually, I brought like the window from that take with her. It just matched because the camera never moved. That's something else too. If you're gonna try and tricks like this, if your camera's moving, it's gonna be really difficult. Also, the dancers, like no one was like waving in front of her. Also you can still pull it off, but it makes it a little more difficult. You have to like mask all that out. There's animation involved. Can be done, but a lot more work. I got real lucky on that one. But yeah, that was remarkably easy. I was very grateful it was that easy, just to get that moment out of her. Somebody else had a hand up? I'm imagining things already. It's lunchtime. Jeez. All right, any questions? Nothing? At all?
I really like the Star Wars thing you did, like
Oh,
animation behind that. Yeah.
thanks.
Did you guys use like actual like?
Very kind of you to say.
Yeah, you guys use real lightsaber effects, or did you animate yourself?
No, that's an effect. It's still in After Effects. It's called lightning. It's kind of neat. Actually, it emulates like a whole, like you have a start point and end point, and you can
Yeah.
branches of lightning.
We'll use rotoscope and all that kind of crazy stuff.
Oh, no, that was hand done. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That was done on a thing called DV, and step in the Wayback Machine, time machine. The DV was like, you know, old school tape. That was like a super low resolution. Like HD is 1080 by 1920, all right? DV tape was like 780 by 480. It was like postage stamp. And we were actually working on that stuff professionally. That's all you had for a very long time. So yeah, those were like an old Macintosh OG, G4, workstations. It took me a year between shooting it, editing it, and then like all the dumb effects.
For animated films, do you think it's easier or harder to adjust the lighting, in post?
Oh, animation? Animation, you have full control over everything. That's almost the dream scenario. Because like, oh, the background, like take that background back into Photoshop, adjust it, plop it back in. It's easier. Granted, here's the thing I have to remind people in my business is that, where are we at? 10:30. And it's like, hey, don't forget, when we have a project that needs edited, you get a camera and you shoot it, and there's all the material right there. I have all these shots that we shot, right? Animation, you got to build all that stuff. So you relinquish a lot of control for a whole lot more work. But it's, those rewards are great too, because that's animation's great because you have all that control. You can do what you want to do. Nothing else? I think it's lunchtime. All right, thanks guys.